You doubt arguing with a man over how he treats you was going to make him treat you better. Forgive yourself for staying too long begging for him to be someone different than who he was. It's easy to look back with regret when you presently know better than you did then. Extend grace to yourself for the choices you made with the awareness you had at the time. You weren't trying to sabotage yourself, you were trying to love, to hope, and to create the outcome you desired with the tools you had. That deserves a more of your compassion, not criticism. You don't need to resent the version of you who stayed longer than you wish you had. She was the one who carried you through, who finally found the courage to leave, and who made it possible for you to be who you are now. Without her persistence, even if it came with missteps, you wouldn't have the clarity or strength you carry today. Instead of punishing yourself for what you didn't know then, honor yourself for what you know now. For those wondering where I'm reading from, that is something I wrote that is currently found on my Instagram page. I've been that girl too. And I wrote that because I have a coaching client that has a lot of guilt and regret from her past relationship. And so that got me to want to talk about this more because I realized a lot of women have been there. A lot of women have a hard time healing because they have a hard time forgiving themselves. And so they're playing the past relationship on a loop and they feel stuck there. So for me personally, y'all, I never had any shame, regret, or guilt from my past relationship. No guilt for how I acted, no shame for staying, no regret for staying, no regret for the love that I poured into an undeserving man. None of that. And so on this Healing Sundays episode, I'm going to give a little insight to how I was able to be that way and how I healed, because I believe it can help you, and also why you may be feeling this way. So let's get into it. So much of my self-forgiveness after being in the bad toxic relationship for years on end was me understanding that who I was then is not who I am now. I was really real with myself and honest with myself about why I stayed and why I kept going back. And the honest truth was that I just wanted the man to change for me. I just wanted him to love me. He really loved me in the beginning. That really sold me on him. I thought he was very attractive. I felt good to have an attractive man want me. And so I wanted him to keep wanting me. And so I chased him when he stopped love bombing me. It was just so much that went on in that connection. And I understand that I didn't have an awareness of men like that. I didn't have an awareness of what love bombing was. I didn't have an awareness of what a narcissist was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was only doing what I felt was right at the time. And I didn't feel guilt for how I showed up to those relationships. I didn't feel guilt for my reactive abuse. And if you don't know what reactive abuse is, it's when someone is emotionally, verbally, physically abusing you, and you in turn react to that abuse. And you may react in ways that are not really who you are, not really ways that you're proud of. And so, yeah, I did a lot of things, said a lot of things, but it was only me trying to survive in that relationship. And after those relationships, I realized that I never want to be with a man that takes me out of myself, that makes me behave in ways that are beneath me. I shouldn't have to go toe to toe with a man to survive. I want to thrive in a relationship. And so, yeah, now the me knows that I don't want to be with a man that makes me reactive. But me then, I thought that's what I had to do. And much of the reason why I thought I had to behave that way was because I saw my mom and my dad, who were married, but in a toxic marriage. I saw how she reacted. I saw the things that she did. And most of all, I saw that she stayed. They only divorced because my dad found a new wife to go marry when the ink was barely dry on their divorce papers. So I have to take into consideration of what I was raised around, how I was raised, and what I knew about dating and about love and about men. And so for me, it was easy for me to forgive myself for what I didn't know, because I truly didn't know. And that was the only way that I was going to know, is by actually living it and being in it. And I'm really grateful for the woman that emerged from all of that. The woman that I am today was because of the woman that I was before. And so I don't look at the past with regret. I look at it as like, okay, so there's a lesson there, and it helped me to grow, because there was really no other way that I was going to learn. Sometimes being hurt is the only way that the actual lesson sticks. And so to shift out of the mindset of regret, here are some thought-provoking mindset shifts. Consider this. There is a difference between knowing versus integrating what you know. You can know better and still need to live an experience to integrate the lesson. And integration takes time. So forgive yourself here. And integration can often look messy. It's not going to be just a straight and narrow path. Another mindset shift here. Love is an experiment. Don't look at it as you were collecting failures. You were collecting data. And data isn't shameful. It's useful. The next mindset shift that can help is you can't rush yourself out of the growth that is going to sustain your future self. It's easy to look at who you are right now, presently, and feel like that you just wasted your time in the past. Try not to look at it as you wasting your time. You were growing during that time. You had to go through that to grow into who you are now. And sure enough, maybe there could have been other ways that you could have grown, but it didn't happen that way because you didn't know any other way. I never looked at what I went through in my past dating life is something that was a waste of my time. I get it. I understand that you can feel like, dang, I wasted years of my time, wasted all of my 20s. You can mourn that and have grief for the time that you wasted, but also hold space for the same truth that you really didn't know any better. So it wasn't really a waste of time because it helped you to know better. It helped you to be who you are now. And for me, I just held space for both truths. I held space that, yeah, I hate that I wasted all my 20s in bad relationships, but also, how else was I going to learn? The next mindset shift here would be self-trust over accuracy. The goal was not to be perfect then, it's to trust yourself now. And I gained a lot of self-trust after those toxic relationships, because it's like I had more wisdom, I had more knowledge, I had more awareness. And so I knew now how to trust myself, trust my intuition, because I've seen what it's like when I don't. I've seen what men can be like. I've seen what love can be like. And so it's like I had the full experience of what it can be like when it's bad. And so therefore I knew what I didn't want anymore and what I wasn't going to settle for anymore, so that I could do better. And so I gained a lot of self-trust from that, a lot of wisdom. Something I want to insert here is that I feel like a lot of us ladies were nice, good girls for a long time. And so therefore we weren't really allowed to date. We weren't really taught how to date. We may have had parents that were strict on us, or didn't allow us to date, or didn't really teach us anything about men, about dating. I know I didn't have any of that. So I feel like I got it wrong in my 20s, because that was the time when I really just began to date, when I really just began to try to have a relationship. I didn't have any high school relationship, any high school love, anything like that. There was one guy that I talked to, but I felt like I didn't have a parent to go to about what I was experiencing in that relationship. I had no one to teach me what was right or what was wrong. My mom would often yell at me about men and don't do this with no man and don't do that and all of that. But I never really had a heart-to-heart with my mom or dad about the experiences I was having and what I was feeling about boys, about relationships, about love. None of that. So it's like I was teaching myself. So you have to kind of forgive yourself, because With you teaching yourself, you don't really know what a rule is or what you should and shouldn't do until you do it and you realize that, okay, that's not it. So it's like you are creating your own wisdom. And the last mindset shifts is that resentment is just frozen grief. If you feel like resentment is still there, more than likely there's grief underneath. And you can like melt this ice of grief by letting yourself be sad for the time you can't get back, but grateful for the you that you did get back. And speaking of which, something that can help with getting over him and back to you is my journal quote book. Getting Over Him and Back to You is the actual title of it. In there, I have a lot of journal prompts that helps you to get over him in the beginning, and then in the end, how to get back to you. And there's also some thought-provoking quotes of mine in there as well. So now I want to give some reframes to help you with the what ifs and the regrets that come up. This can help you to be more compassionate towards yourself. When the what ifs come up, reframe that with even if. And the what ifs can be like, what if I would have done this better? What if I would not have done that? What if I had not have said that? Whatever thoughts of regret you have that start with what if, you're going to say even if. For example, even if I stayed longer than I really wanted to, I learned the exact boundary I now need in my future relationships. Even if that past relationship hurt me, I became the version of me that can accept healthy love. Even if I repeated a pattern, I ended it with clarity and self-respect. Even if it took me longer than I wanted to get here, I still got here and I'm proud of me. When you catch yourself saying I should have, swap it with back then I believed and now I know. Therefore, I choose. So what this is doing is holding space for the past you and the present you. It's holding space for the grief you may have for who you were then, but also holding space for the gratefulness you can have for who you are now. And it's helping you to remember that you wouldn't be who you are if you weren't who you were then. I honestly had no regrets after leaving out of my past toxic relationships. I had no guilt. I had no shame even. It's because I more so knew that I did exactly what I wanted to do at the time in that relationship. I wanted to keep going back to see if it would work. I wanted to try with him. I could not give up on it unless I knew I tried first. And that's just something that I had to be honest with myself about. I think with me having that mindset that I did what I wanted to do and that I was trying to see if it could work, I think with me having that mindset helped me to understand that you seen what you had to see, it didn't work, and that is what it is. And so then after that, I just began to rebuild myself and take the lessons I got from those bad relationships and move forward. The healing, yes, it was difficult. It was hard. I'm not going to lie and say that it wasn't. Even though I didn't have any regrets or shame or anything like that, the healing is still a little difficult anyway, because you wanted what you wanted. And I think with me, I was real with myself in my healing as well. I was real with myself about the man that he really was. Instead of me constantly looking at the man that I wanted him to be, I had to let go of the fantasy and look at the reality of what the relationship was and who he really was. It's like I had to deal more with the truth of things in that relationship. And that's what helped me to heal. And that's what helped me to take like the rose colored glasses off and see things clearly. Because honestly, you can't see things that clear while you're in it. I didn't see things clearly till I got out of that relationship and I was trying to heal. And in my healing process, I just came back down to reality and was really real with myself about who I was, why I did what I did, and who he really was. And in doing that, it was just time to move forward, because once I faced the reality of who he really was and what we were never going to be, I realized there was no need for me to ruminate on that. There was no need for me to keep going back to that. It's time to move forward. I still want love. I still want a healthy connection. I want a healthy man. It's just time to move forward. And so I did my healing, and then I began to move forward. Do not be ashamed of what you did when you didn't know better. And even if, let's say, even if you knew better, even if you knew those were red flags, did you know that not paying attention to those red flags was going to cause you the consequences that it did? There's no way you could have seen that consequence coming up. Maybe you didn't understand how to really listen to your intuition or have discernment. Forgive yourself for that. And also, it helps to be really honest with yourself about why you ignored the red flags, about why you knew better but didn't do better. Let's say if you did actually know that he wasn't for you. Like I knew my ex wasn't for me. I knew he wasn't shit. I knew these things. I knew there were red flags. But I still wanted to try anyway because I didn't know that you weren't supposed to try with someone that had red flags. I thought that it was okay to try with a man even though he is showing signs that he is toxic, even though he's showing signs that this is not going to go well, even though he's mistreating me. I thought that it was okay to try to make it work with a man. That's why I ignored the red flags. That's why I ignored my intuition because I thought that I could try to make it work anyway. And so you just have to be really real and honest with yourself. And that's what I did. And I think when me being honest with myself about why I did what I did and why I stayed and why I ignored the red flags, that's what helped me to deal with the truth. And the truth is, I can't be ashamed of who I was. The truth is, I did what I did, and those are my reasons. And it is what it is. Now I know better, you know? So, you have to be really real with yourself, ladies, okay? Well, so whatever your truths are about why you stayed, why you didn't leave, why you ignored red flags, I need you to deal with the reality of that instead of what you know now. Hope that helps. So, that's all I got for this Healing Sundays episode, girlfriends. Until the next one, peace out.